Hi, this is Christopher Schon from Noble Master Games. Today I'm going to talk about triggers in Retro Commander. That's some custom functionality you can add to campaigns, especially for role-playing missions. But you also can use triggers in regular matches to have some special effects that are happening when a certain condition is met. And I'm going to demonstrate how you would set it up in the editor. I have set up two factions, one with the submarines and one with the speedboat, to make it easy. Not much going on there. Move the submarine, I see the speedboat there. What I want to do is, I want to have the speedboat below here move around automatically. And I'm going to demonstrate, for example, how that looks. So first, to have the speedboat move around automatically, we use the trigger system. What I do now first is we set a few trigger points. One is where the speedboat is now, and the other position is where we want it to go. And we can make it so that it goes back and forth. Once it starts here, it goes to 2. Once it reaches number 2, it goes back to number 1. And to make it more clear, we give those trigger pose a label. Pose A, position A, and then pose B, position B. Those trigger numbers, they can change. If you open the editor again, it's maybe not number 1 and 2. So in having a label, it makes it more clear what we are talking about. Let's save it for once. So now we have the speedboat here. We want, once it's at position A, we want it to move to position B, and when it's at B, we want to move it back. So let's set up a trigger. You can set up a trigger manually. They're here in Edit Triggers and Events. That's doable with the Edit Customly, but much easier is if you right-click the object you're talking about. For example, the speedboat here. You can right-click, no, actually left-click. And then you can set a new trigger. You want the trigger that assigns a movement, an effect. We move from position A to position B for the speedboat. So we set that here. Move from A to B. So here on the left side we have the trigger name that's hidden except visible in the editor. And then below here we have the conditions, or how many times it repeats. Condition, we can set a previous trigger that would be necessary to have this trigger. And time, after how much time the trigger would start. Or if you place a building, if a building is built or a unit is built. Then we have the connected condition. If you connect something to a power grid, this trigger would trigger. And we have a few more. I'm not going to go through all. And they might change in the future too. There might be some more. And then on the right hand side, that's effects. We can have a pop-up. We can another alert optionally displayed. We can scroll or move the camera to a position. Or here, we want the speedboat to move to a different position. We want to move from A to B. And we have to enter the coordinates that I don't have at the moment. So we want, as soon as the condition is met that the speedboat is at trigger point 1, close distance 1.0, we want it to move to the position 2. So here we select the speedboat. If the speedboat is close to number 1, we move to the given position over there. And I have to check the coordinate. Let's go and leave it at that for now. And if you click here, we see the coordinate around here. It's about 21 and 37. Go back to the trigger. Let's hope I remember it. 21, 37. Here we're gonna move to 2137 once we are close to trigger 1, and let's save it quickly and let's see if that works. Actually, I didn't use the other trigger yet, so it gives me an error. To do that, maybe we set up the other trigger too. We move from 1 to B, A to B, and then from B to A. So also here we can click here and we do a new proximity trigger. If we are close to number 2, we move the speedboat to the other trigger. The effect again would be the opposite direction. We assign a movement for the speedboat. And here too we have to check the coordinate. So let's see the coordinate of trigger 1. It's about 16 and 42. So find it quickly. 1642. And we should also give you the name move from B to A. So we have those two triggers. Let's save it. And let's hope it all works. So now the triggers are generally hidden. You can use any other object as a trigger. Now I move to B, now it moves back to A. And now the trigger is done. Because we didn't set it to trigger indefinitely, we only set it to trigger once. So let's have another look. So we have trigger 1, trigger A to B. And the repetition we have said, we set it to repeat only once, but we can set it to repeat forever. So it would repeat forever from A to B. And we do the same for B to A. And let's maybe speed it up so you can see that actually works. So we have B, go back to A, go back to B, A, and the speedboat is moving in a loop forever and ever. You can have multiple triggers to move it in a circle somehow, if that's your thing. But that's, for example, one trigger can automate movement. So let's go next. What do we have next? So we can also set the trigger for a wind condition. So when we go here and we set the setting for a scenario, I have set it to annihilation. You have to annihilate the enemy. But we can also set a custom wind condition. Set the time limit, no time limit. And we can set if B move to A, for example, then the game is over. But that makes little sense. So let's add another trigger. We set the wind condition. And the wind condition here, we can, for example, say that the second faction has less, the renegade forces have less than or equal to 0 troops. If we eliminate all the troops, I mean the win condition is reached. And we go back and set it here in the settings. So the win condition would be to eliminate the renegade forces once we are playing what do you call it, when we are playing the other faction. I guess we need to give a win condition, win effect too. Let's see that one more time. Yeah, it can be tricky. I don't remember all the time what all the conditions are required are for triggers, what you need to set to get it to work properly. So no trigger effect given for trigger mission, that's the name of the scenario, and the win condition. So let's go in there. So we have to set some effect. And one effect we can add an alert output. That's for example for Pan Am League and section. For example, we have an alert, enemy eliminated. And I hope that should work. We can verify. So that works. Or let's assume that works and let's have a look. And here we have our submarines. Yes, so let's just go in and eliminate that speedboat to see how it works. That should be pretty quick, I guess. And then here the text that I entered, enemy eliminated, comes up here too. That shows that the text that I entered is also just the text shown there. Let's go out again. Yeah, I think in this for this, what do you call it? For this trigger, it probably makes a little sense. I could have something else happening too. But you can add custom text effects that show up. For example, you receive income, you can say how much income you received or something else. And I'm aware that the win condition makes little sense because we can just set the objective to annihilation and it would result in the same, but it's just for demo. You can set this custom win condition. You can also maybe have another win condition that you destroy a certain building and that would be the victory. And yes, and this is more designed for the campaign. I'm gonna do another session, like another video explaining how to set up campaigns and how to create the campaign comics, but it's a little bit too much to do it right now. Focusing mainly on the triggers. So let's do another trigger. Another trigger, for example, that I can set is a timed trigger. And how do we do that? A timed trigger, we have a timer condition. We can say it comes up after 1 second. And we can also repeat it, but we don't have to. So we set it to NA, we don't repeat the timer. We just do it one time. And what you can do is, we can have a pop-up showing. We can have a quick pop-up. We can say who is talking, maybe Agent Johnson or Major Tom. And you can say, eliminate the speedboat. And it's shown for the Pan Am League. Save the map and I'll show you how that looks. So after 1 second, when the game is started, you have here eliminate the speedboat. So Major Tom is talking and it's gone after a second, so you can set custom head overlays. We can also change it around. Instead of, let's say, just a head showing, we can have a whole dialogue. And the dialogue will just pause the game. It would be Major Tom maybe talking to Agent Johnson. It can also be nobody. You can say eliminate the speedboat again. And this time, instead of having a quick pop-up, we can have a display that pauses the game, eliminate the speedboat. I mean, you can have a whole conversation explaining, for example, a role-playing scenario, and then you close it and it goes on. Let's go back to the triggers. Maybe let's have a look one more time. So what we can also do, we can display, what do you call it? We can display the win condition. For example, the win condition eliminate the enemy. And then we can hide it as done, and that should come up on the top right corner, if I'm right. So here we have the condition eliminate the enemy. That's now coming up, and the checkbox will appear once you destroyed the enemy. So you can have a list of objectives, and generally how they work, that's mostly for the campaign. You set up the objectives, and you can say to hide it once it's done. Otherwise, if you have about 50 objectives, it's going to be a long list. And the objectives only show, if you have, for example, a precondition, they only show once the precondition is reached. So you set the objective, and then you hide it when done, to do not clutter the UI. Because when it's done, I mean it's done. But you can keep it forever. For example, for the win condition, for example, it makes sense to keep it on forever and not hide it when done. But it's up to you. I mean, I wouldn't show too many at the same time to not confuse the player. And then what else do we have? Maybe let's switch the timed trigger back to just a quick pop-up. Eliminate the speedboat. So what else could we do? So let's do another trigger. For example, what conditions could we do? Maybe we can have a condition for placing a structure. And we can also show it as a hint. And then we can also use the parameter place para landmine, place 1, place landmine, or we can have it here para. It should show how many we have to place. So we can say that we can give the repetitions. Maybe we place 2 landmines. Condition built. Where we have the landmine. Actually, built means it's fully constructed, but we don't have any build robots, so we do it placed. Once you placed 2 landmines, the condition is reached. And we say Pan Am League has to place the landmines. And we can give an effect too. Maybe an alert output. And let's see. I think we also have to give the faction some assets. So Pan Am League needs a few assets, give some matter. And maybe they can place the landmine here. What I probably should do is I should extend that island so there's actually enough space to place the landmines. Let's hope that works. I have to set a receiver too. And the receiver means who will get that message. I mean, I can have those message on the top right corner. I can tell which faction has it displayed to, and we can hide the trigger when it's done. It stays a while, but once after I think 10 seconds the message will be gone. Let's have another look. So place landmine 042, 0 out of 2.
Yes, sir.
Let's do that. Oh wait, we have I think building disabled in this mission. We have to enable that too. Building on map, otherwise we can't obviously build the landmines. And maybe when we add it, we can also add a build robot. Robo builder. And now hopefully it should work. So let's build 2 landmines. So I placed one, and now place the second one, and now you see the checkbox. And now because I set it to hide, once a few seconds are elapsed, that part is gonna be hidden. Now it's hidden. And now the only remaining task is to eliminate the speedboat down there. I mean, it's a very simple mission of course. You can have a lot more complex setups. So maybe let me go quickly through it and then let's call it done. So that's the name of the trigger, the hint display that I showed you, how many times it repeats. I can give a precondition before the trigger is shown. Then after how much time it's shown and after how many seconds or minutes the trigger repeats. Then that's place means when the object is created but not fully built, and this is when it's fully constructed. I can have also a condition when a power grid is fully connected or partly connected. And there's always a faction that has to achieve it. Sometimes it can be empty, so any faction has to reach a condition. Here to load or unload a boat. Then condition when a when a specific type of object, it's not an actual object that has been created yet, but a type of robo builder, any robo builder that is being built goes to a certain location. It's similar to proximity, but proximity only gives you the option for a unit that's already been created. Or here mining, how much we have to have mined to reach the victory condition. Repair condition, if a special unit is repaired or not. If a unit is destroyed, it's an also condition or not destroyed. We can also set it to not destroyed. Proximity, I showed you that. If you're low on troops, that could be, for example, a victory condition, custom one. Or if an object transformed, for example, a teleporter, a mobile one transformed into a fixed location, or a portal condition has been established between 2 portals. We don't have any portals on those maps. And now on the right hand side we have the effects. I showed you the pop-ups you can do, or alert output. And just the option who it is has to be shown to, or the activator, whoever activated the condition over there. We can also move the camera. When we go, for example, place a landmine, actually I should call it place 2 landmines to be correct. We can also set the camera to focus on a special location. I would need to set a trigger, not the trigger location. Let's do that. Not a hidden trigger. We focus the map on that location. So especially for a certain action you want to do that. And that's only for Pan Am League. Let's see how that looks. Actually we have, let me see. There's no condition reached. I mean, we focused the map. Actually how I did it was wrong. So only when you placed the 2 landmines will it show here. We should actually have another action where we move the map first and then we tell them to place the trigger. That would be a precondition. So yeah, it's not quite correct how I did it. So it takes a lot of fiddling to get it all right, and there might be some error messages along the way that you have to figure out. Post in the forums and I try to answer them. So anyhow, assign movement, let's go on to the effects. We already saw that. Transformation, if we transform, for example, a portal, we can spawn factions, or we can have change the owner for a new unit, for example, or change the alliance. We can spawn troops, create an object. We can kill off a faction right away. We can also remove an object, give assets. We can also give technology to one faction. For example, if some book was reached or some location was reached, or we can also establish a portal connection. I know that's really quick. I think you have to fill around or ask in the forums again if you have questions. But yes, the idea is to use it mostly maybe for the campaign, to have some campaign with some basic role play. And I'm going to go over how to set up a campaign and the campaign comic later. Anyhow, I hope it made all sense, and thanks for watching.